on number 29. So 29 says, what is a 0? Yeah, you can use your notes and you can use your review and everything. All right, so some Thanksmas thing. Oh, fun. That's a long time though. All right, so what is the 0 of the graph given? Remember, that's just the x-intercept. So x-intercept obviously is on the x-axis. That's going to be this point right here. Looks like -2 is our answer. So you can say a couple of things. You can either say x is -2, or you can do the point 2, 0, or x equals 2. However it's worded on the final exam, both of those are fine. All right. Now, what is the rate of change of the price with respect to the weight of the graph below? So, when it says rate of change, all that means is slope. I'm pulling up the key to make sure my answers match too. Give me just a second. Yes. All right. Oops, those are negatives. All right, what is the rate of change? That just means the slope of the price with respect to the weight of the graph below. So we just have to pick 2 points when we're looking for slope, obviously. Pick 2 points and then count rise over run. So I'll pick 1 point here and 1 here. I'm going up by 50 because these are counting by 50s. So I go up 50 and then to the right. Looks like it goes from 5 to maybe 7.5 to 10. So it's going over, let's see, 5. So it's going over by 2.5. So our slope is going to be up 50. That's 50 over 2.5. All right. When we divide that, that's going to be 20. All right. So you can pick any 2 points. Just make sure you do your rise over your run. All right. So what is the slope of the line? Oh, and by the way, if you're looking at Miss Miles' key, she does the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. If you prefer that way, you can do it that way too. Okay. What is the slope of the line that passes through these points? Well, we have a formula for that. That's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Here's my x1, y1, x2, y2. I'm just plugging stuff in. -1 minus -3 over 8 minus 6. These turn into pluses. -1 plus 3, that is +2. 8 minus 6 is 2, so my slope is 1. All right. The test is multiple choice, and I think there's 30 problems. Okay, what is the equation of the line that passes through the point and has a slope of 0? So we are given a point and a slope. So we use point-slope formula. And that formula is y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. All right, here's my x1, y1. My slope is 0. So y minus -7 equals slope of 0. That means 0 times x minus 5. Well, when I multiply 0 by anything, I'm left with 0. This becomes a plus, and I've got y plus 7 equals 0. I'm going to move that over, -7, and I end up with y equals -7. Let me rewrite it over here so we can all see it. Y equals -7. Okay, so if we were to kind of envision this, y equals -7, remember that that's a horizontal line. And it's going to start at -7 and it's going to go all the way across. So maybe it's like right here. It'll go across. And it's going to pass through that point 5, -7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe it's right here. Okay. So just kind of visualize what it would look like on the graph once you solve it. Y equals -7, that's a horizontal line. It's going to pass through that point, 5, -7. Okay. Oops. Number 33. So this one, it already gives us the y equals mx plus b form, but it is an inequality. This is greater than, remember. So if it's greater than, there's no line underneath it, so that means it's going to be a dotted line. Since it's greater than, it's going to be shaded above. All right, this one's shaded above, above, below, and below, so it's not those. Okay, so now we have to look at the one that matches. What else? Dotted line, solid line. It's going to be D. All right. So if for some reason they gave you lots that looked like this, you might have to double check what the slope looks like and where the y-intercept is. But this one, it was all the same line. They just kind of changed up the dotted and solid and where they shaded. So just remember, if it's greater than, it's dotted and shaded above. Number 34. So this one we've done in the past. It was called linear transformations. If I'm looking at these two graphs, there are two things that we could do to change it. Now we can change, so if we want to transform a line, we can only change the or the y-intercept and the slope. All right, so just keep that in mind. When we're dealing with lines, that's the only things we can change because that's all we're given. Y equals mx plus b, you have your m and you have your b. So that's the only thing we can change. I look at these and I notice they have the same y-intercept. All right, so these two lines, F and G, have same y-intercept. They have different slopes. Now, last time we talked about this, I think it was Charles that asked me. He said, well, how do you know if they're talking about G or F? So it's going to tell you in the answer choices. So it's saying G is something that has been transformed from F. So it's saying G is equal to F, but they did something to it, right? So we're given F, and we're going to kind of turn it a little bit and maybe make it less flat, right? Because the y-intercept is not changing. Since the y-intercept is not changing, I can cross out F and H, because remember, when I have those little y-intercepts changing, this is going to be down 4. But my function didn't go down 4. They're in the same spot. This one means down 2. So I can cross those out because it did not move down. Just want to make that note, though, that that is what they mean. So let's think about it for a second. Our options are 1/3 of fx or 3 times fx. Now remember, when we change the slopes, if it's a higher number, it gets steeper. So it's saying G is f, but it's being made flatter, 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 right? Well, 1/3, that's definitely going to be less than 1, which means it's going to be a flatter slope. Flatter by 1/3. And then this one would be steeper by 3. So if we were to take G, multiply it by 3, then we'd get F, but it's not asking for that. It's saying that we want G. We're going to transform F, move it over, and it gets flatter. That's going to be G. All right, less steep. All right, so 1/3 less steep than F. Right? So less steep, it's flatter. And this is being recorded, so you can go back and rewind it and rewatch. Okay, 35. 35. The graph of a linear function is shown on the grid. Which best represents it? Well, this is point slope formula. And remember, that's y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. So basically what we have to do is kind of process of elimination. So let's try to figure out our slope first. I'm going to pick 2 points to find the slope. Let's see. Let's find some that meet, maybe 0, 5. Yeah, this one right here. And then we have another one right here at 1, 2. So our slope, we would go down 1, 2, 3. Down 1, 2, 3. Over 1. So my m is down 3 over 1. That means it's a negative 3. So let's take a look at our answer choices. It's not going to be B or C because those are positive. So now I'm left with these 2 choices, and I have to think to myself, okay, what point are they talking about? When they say y plus 1 and x plus 2, I need to think about my point slope formula, right? So let's see, if I have x1, that's going to be negative 2, because remember it's minus negative 2, change this to a plus. Same over here, my y1 is going to be negative 1. It's just like you change the sign whenever you're dealing with point slope. All right, so my x would be 4, my y would be negative 7, and I'm getting that from these numbers right here. All right, so I need to look at the graph and say, is negative 2, negative 1 on here? Well, let's go, negative 2, negative 1, that's not on the line. So let's try 4, negative 7. 4, negative 7. Yep. So it's going to be D. All right, now the way Miss Miles did it, if you prefer her way, you can check out her key. What she did was she plugged in the points and figured out if they were true or false. All right, mine's a little bit different. So I found my point by basically seeing in the formula right here, x1 and y1, that's 4, negative 7. I looked at the line. I see that it's there. That must be the one. All right. Next one, what is the equation and the slope of the line shown here? Well, remember, vertical lines are undefined. Vertical lines are undefined. All right, so our slope is undefined. Vertical lines are always x equals something. Well, it crosses through these 6, so my equation is x equals 6. Similar to the y equals one that we did earlier, y equals would be horizontal, and it would be whatever number it crosses. X equals are vertical lines, and it says x equals whatever it intersects at the axis. All right, so what is the equation and slope-intercept form of a line that has a y-intercept of 3? So I know my b is going to be 3, and is perpendicular, so that means my slope is an opposite reciprocal. All right, so I'm going to take this formula right here, and I need to figure out my new line, because it's saying we want one that's perpendicular. It needs to be y equals mx plus b. I know b is 3. Y equals something x plus 3. Well, I need to do my opposite reciprocal here. This is negative 4/3, so I'm going to flip the fraction and change the sign, and that's going to be positive 3/4. So it'll be 3/4 x plus 3. Let me stop the recording.